Why was the Sandton city chosen to host the 2015 Ecomobility World Festival? Why has the city of Johannesburg taken a firm decision to move towards a greener future? What lessons has the city of Johannesburg learned from the 2013 Suwon Ecomobility Festival in South Korea? And how can other South African cities be helped to embrace sustainable urban transportation? What time is it? It's question time. Welcome to Question Time. My name is Mpho Tsedu. October is annually celebrated as Transport Month in South Africa. This year's events coincide with the Second Ecomobility World Festival currently taking place in Sandton. The festival will run for the entire month and is the Second Ecomobility World Festival after the 2013 event that was hosted by South Korean city of Suwon. Walking, cycling, wheeling and the use of public transport are promoted as the most environmentally friendly alternatives. A reminder that this is a live program, and therefore you can call us and air your views. The numbers to dial 089-110-4210 if you're outside the borders, 0027-89-110-4210. Our Twitter handle remains at QuestionTime24. My guest today, the Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Councillor Mpho Pakstau. Executive Mayor, welcome to Question Time.
Thank you very much and good evening.
We've been waiting for you for ever, but thank you.
It shouldn't have been that difficult.
Here you are. And are you not missing the blue lights? I'm told you used a bus to get here.
Well, I used the bus. It's actually a lot more convenient. The reality is that, in fact, ecomobility is about experiencing different modes of transport, and using the bus was actually an eye-opener, even to us that are implementing the bus as a mechanism of public transportation. We're finding that leaving Braamfontein and getting here during the peak hour actually literally took us 13 minutes. And then the walk up the slight hill to the station, but otherwise it was okay.
Okay. Right, let's talk about what is happening here in Sandton, the Ecomobility World Festival. There were some complaints, people saying you're inconveniencing us. Is the process a worthwhile one?
Well, firstly, let me start with a problem statement, because I think it's always important to understand what we're trying to deal with and why ecomobility is so important, therefore, in Johannesburg. The first problem that we are dealing with relates to the reality of congestion that we're experiencing in our city and in the country, but Sandton in particular being the key strategic commercial node in our city is facing significant levels of congestion and an increase in traffic estimated at about 3.5% every year. We currently have developments that would increase the level of office space by another 345,000 square meters of office space that would come into Sandton. And that reality means that, in fact, the number of vehicles that would get into the area would grow exponentially. And that reality includes the fact that during the peak hours, you have at least 150,000 passenger trips in and out of Sandton. Now, you're facing a problem. If you look at Sandton and you've been to Sandton, you know that you can't build a new road. You can't build yourself out of the problem. So you need to find solutions that are about creating adequate and efficient alternatives. So congestion is the first problem. The second problem is that Johannesburg is per capita one of the highest emitters of greenhouse gas emissions. So what is our responsibility to the climate, to our planet, and to humanity? And we've made commitments as a city to make an active contribution towards reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So ecomobility is about addressing both. It's about ensuring that we're able to move into alternative modes of transport, reduce the amount of greenhouse gas emissions whilst reducing the economic inefficiencies that come with congestion.
Now I'm listening to you and I'm saying this is very good English, but what does it mean to Memamudise in Kliptown?
It means a lot. It means a lot because If you think about, let's talk about climate change and its impact to Memamudisa and Kliptown. We have experienced an increased intensity of rain and an increase in the rainy season in Johannesburg over the past few years. So you would know that the number of flash floods that we're experiencing, the number of floods that we're experiencing, and changes in weather patterns have impacted on people negatively. It has also placed our infrastructure under tremendous pressure. We had planned for a particular level of flooding in a city. When you design your infrastructure, your stormwater attenuation systems, your roads, they work according to a particular level of storm that comes to the city. That's under pressure. We now need to reinvest in that infrastructure. That takes away from our opportunity to build for Memamudisa a new home, which you might desperately be needing. But also the reality of the inconvenience and the pressure that climate change places on us. But this is about current generation. Think about it in relation to the next 20 years, in relation to the next generation. Unless we, as humanity, do something about it, and we do something about it now, the impact of climate change would be negative. Which really brings me to the other issue that for us is important. We're hosting Ecomobility on the eve of COP21 that's taking place in Paris. Where the world is supposed to agree on a new deal on climate change. And that new deal should include targets for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. It should include mechanisms for financing the interventions that are made. With the previous deal, Africa, South Africa, Johannesburg has not received proportionately the amount of resources that other cities in the developed world received. And we think that it is time that we don't go there cap in hand with a begging bowl and say, give us money, we have problems. We're saying it's about equity. It's about the resources that are being invested in dealing with climate change should also be directed to African cities, not because we're coming with a begging bowl, but because we come with practical solutions. So when we go there at the end of the year, we will be taking the Ecomobility Festival and saying, this is the example. This is one of the interventions. At the back of this intervention, these are the other interventions we are putting in place. But if you look at what other cities in the developed world have received from the international community to introduce similar interventions, they've received a lot more resources. So you need to be able to invest those resources in Africa, not because Africa is a basket case, but because Africa has solutions and has practical solutions, as would be demonstrated.
Now, does it mean with this Ecomobility Festival, you would rather have people on bikes and walking and in buses as you're doing?
Well, it means that we need to strike a balance. You know, the city of Johannesburg adopted a program or a policy that we call complete streets. If you think about public infrastructure and you actually apply your mind to the amount of public infrastructure available for different amenities, we've got a disproportionate amount of public infrastructure going to the road. And that road is dedicated to the car. It's actually an equity issue. The vast majority of the people of the city actually don't use a car. They are trapped into alternative modes of transport. And the policy we adopted is, how do we make our streets more equitably used for the pedestrian, for the cyclist, for the private car user, for the bus, so that in fact the road becomes more equitable for leisure, for, you know, I mean, I grew up in Soweto. I'll tell you that we use the road for recreation, for leisure, for different facilities. Martin, but you can go on and on about the uses that can be there for the road. So we've adopted a policy that says we want complete streets that are more equitably used in Johannesburg.
Hold the thought there. When we return, I want to take a quick break. When we return, let's talk about, are you doing all these things? Are you going to enjoy the fruits? I mean, there are elections next year. Executive Mayor, are you still going to be there? A reminder that you can call us and air your views. The number is 0891104210. This is Question Time. We'll be taking your calls right after this.
The road to greatness is not an easy one. It's rough, tough, and full of barriers. And there's only one way to master it. Never, ever stop. Dauntless, the all-new Audi Q7.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. My guest today is the Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Councillor Parkstyle. Executive Mayor, welcome back. Now, it's all good to talk about alternative transport and perhaps encourage people to use public transport. Is there adequate public transport? Is it efficient? Well, I know that Gwede Mantashe says Johannesburg is the only place where you can walk from your street in Soweto into a bus, into a train, into a plane to New York.
Yep.
So how efficient is it?
Well, we're building a public transport network. If you think about Sandton, we're actually building infrastructure right now into Sandton. We're building a bridge, dedicated bridge and BRT lanes that get into Sandton. We're building an interchange in Wynberg. We're building a BRT route on Louis Porter that's continuing the network that currently exists. So in many ways, this is about building a city of the future. It's about creating a city where there are adequate alternatives and people are incentivized to use the alternatives because the alternatives enable you to wake up an hour earlier and arrive home an hour earlier. And that must be the convenience that we provide to the people of Johannesburg. If I choose to go into a bus, if I choose to go into a train, this gives me the opportunity to spend more time at home or more time at work. As I'm saying, these are stepping stones. In many ways, we have the elements of a public transport network. We've got, if you look at the bus system alone, we've got the BRT. We own Metropass as a city that plays a complementary role. There are the subsidized bus services of Patco, Amogelang, and others that we're currently discussing with province about integrating into the rest of the network. And the idea would really be that the routes should complement each other. But not only should the routes complement each other, that we should be able to have an integrated ticketing system so that when you get from one bus company to another, you don't feel the difference as the customer, so to say. It is sorted out differently. We've introduced a separate ticketing company at the BRT. It would be a similar approach when we get into Metropass, so that in fact ticketing becomes a separate issue from the actual use of the mode of transport. Okay.
But when are you going to clean Hillbrow?
It's actually underway. Over the past few weeks, we launched a project to restart the program of inner city regeneration and cleaning. Not just because regeneration has been happening. We have a lot to celebrate on inner city regeneration, Braamfontein, Maboning, Main Street, and other areas that have shown significant levels of redevelopment. But the focus is now on urban management solutions, on cleanliness, on maintenance, and those sort of things. And over the past few weeks, we started in the center city and we'll be expanding our program into Hillbrow.
Okay. Then this greener future concept, what is it? Ideally, what kind of a future is this?
A greener future is a future where we reduce the amount of greenhouse gas emissions because, in fact, it's about reducing pollution, it's about CO2 emission reductions, it's about protecting our climate and creating a better future for ourselves and our children. And that future is a future that we all share that enables us to have a better quality life and we're not captive to the illnesses that come with pollution, with the impact of greenhouse gas emissions, the impact that has on production, on planting, on farming, on the price of food, on the price of fuel, on the price of everything that we encounter. And it's a commitment that the world is agreed on. That's why the world is meeting in Paris. Everybody anticipates that at the end of this year, the world will reach a deal about how you're going to achieve the greener future, what the country commitments are. In that context, what become the local authority commitments. But not only are those commitments, what are the financing mechanisms for both public and private initiatives that build that greener future?
Now, see, I've been wanting to talk to you for quite a while, so you'll probably pick this up from my questions as well. Have you got the billing system right now?
Actually, yes. To a large extent, I think that we've broken the back of the initial problem that we encountered when we were making a transition into a new billing system. We had converted from the initial systems, disparate systems that we had, and consolidated accounts onto one system. It had its own teething problems. We've been working very hard to deal with those teething problems. We're looking at making announcement about new innovations that include billing applications and all sorts of new initiatives that take advantage of the evolution of technology so that we give people greater power in their hands. Some of the solutions include, when we spoke about when we had problems of load shedding and we introduced load limiting. In many ways, people focused on the load limiting, but it was actually at the back of installing alternative metering systems so that you and the city would real time have the same data and information, and that's what smart meters are about. But they also empower the resident to know which of my utilities or which of my uses in the house are consuming how much energy, and it empowers the residents, so to say, to be able to make decisions about their own consumption. So we're now taking advantage of what smart solutions give us, because we can mitigate on load shedding, but part of that was about addressing the reliability of meter information and ensuring that as a smart city that we introduce smart technologies.
Okay, I know my questions now are probably going to put me in trouble with your handlers, because I want you to take off the city of Joburg cap and wear the other one, as chairperson.
Quick transition.
Yeah. As chairperson of the ANC in Johannesburg, we've just emerged from what was termed a highly successful NGC. What are you going to do to ensure that the ANC returns to office come 2016 local government elections?
Well, we've been working on that since we started in 2011. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Because remember, when you are elected, part of your responsibility is to, one, meet the mandate that you've been given by the people and ensure that you're able to deliver in a way that is reflective of the mandate that the people have given you. And certainly we are confident that the programs that we've put in place, ranging from the transportation initiatives, the housing initiatives, the smart technology initiatives, are essentially taking us in the direction that we're going, that we're delivering on the mandate that the people gave us. But what is that mandate? Because for us, it's very important that it's not just an electoral mandate, it's a mandate for fundamental social transformation. It's about building a more equitable city that ensures that people have more equitable access to their city. So we've taken a lot of long-term views about our city. We've spoken about the corridors of freedom, about how you bring people closer to opportunities and opportunities closer to people, how you create a city that creates greater equity in terms of mobility, in terms of technology, and in terms of opportunities. We've built partnerships with public and private bodies to ensure that we're able to get there. So that's taking a long-term view about what sort of city are you building. We're talking about an inclusive urbanism, a city that's built around inclusive urbanism, where people feel that they are an integral part of the city in which they live. But we've also taken the view that reality is, whilst we have a long-term growth and development strategy that we worked on immediately after we were elected in 2011, the revision of the GDS, we had medium-term targets. And those targets included smart city initiatives, they included improving public safety, they included better housing, they included spatial restructuring, they included mobility, they included reducing the burden of disease amongst our communities. And if you look at the programs we've introduced, ranging from healthy living lifestyles to programs around better food, introducing more healthier eating options in our restaurants, that's about creating a better quality of life. And in many ways, we judge ourselves on the basis of what we've done in terms of the long-term programs, but also what we're doing in relation to meeting the immediate needs of the people that we serve.
But there's always been this talk amongst analysts that the ANC stands the risk of losing Joburg. How far true is that?
Well, I think if you go into more recent research, I think you would come to the conclusion that that story has run its course. So to say, I think that more recent research suggests that, in fact, that we've turned the corner in relation to the electoral losses that we suffered in the national elections last year. And we've had to apply our minds as a party to what the issues are that have caused the electoral losses. And reality is there were issues that people were concerned about that they required the party to address. And as a party, we've ensured that we address that we're responsive to people, that we introduce mechanisms of greater transparency in government so that, in fact, we deal with the problems that people have.
All right, let me allow you to just take a sip there whilst we take a call. Matsidi, so you're calling us from Rodiport?
My question to the executive mayor is, what is the future of Rodiport, especially CBD of Rodiport? It seems to me there's nothing that is clear. There's no direction there.
Yeah.
Well, Rodiport is an integral part of the city of Johannesburg. In fact, interestingly, we're going there with the Premier tomorrow to have a conversation with the community in Rodiport. We've been working on programs around the regeneration of Rodiport. It would include the expansion and renovation of public transport amenities, the infrastructure that's there in Rodiport, and supporting the area in terms of its own regeneration.
And perhaps whilst talking about Rodiport, let me just bring in this question around entrepreneurs in and around the city of Johannesburg. How are you supporting black young entrepreneurs?
We've got a number of programs that we excuse me, this is unfortunate. We've got a number of programs that we're running as a city. Amongst others, we've established centers for small enterprise development. We've also established a program titled Josie at Work that's intended to create entrepreneurs in the local townships through the provision of municipal services, where we enter into partnerships with our own communities as mechanisms through which we now build municipal infrastructure and provide municipal services. And the idea behind Josie at Work is to give people greater ownership of the public infrastructure that's there, but also enable us to create local jobs and local enterprises.
But are you buying from them? Because see, what I've noticed is that government in many instances would come up with all these initiatives and say, yes, we're supporting you. Then people go out there and produce products or services, render services, which the government themselves are not even considering, you know.
Well, Josie at Work has dedicated more than 3 billion rands in the current financial year alone to buy services from local community-based enterprises and cooperatives, and it's really intended to enable people to take advantage of the ability to provide services to the city. We've just advertised for a 50 million rands community innovation fund, where people are able to come with their own innovations around resolving whatever local issues as part of Josie at Work, and we would fund that program.
Stanley, you're calling us from Joburg South. Stanley? Okay, Stanley is no longer there, unfortunately. So the 50 million rand that you're talking about, does it confine itself to a particular field or anything that I can think of? Is this what you're saying?
Anything that is within the realm of a municipality. And if you think about a municipality, we do lots of work. We provide roads, libraries, zoo. We provide municipal parks.
Yes.
Do IT. We do all sorts of things. Provide public safety. We deal with matters of emergency services, health, the array of services that you can think of that we provide as a municipality you could be able to provide your own innovations and would be able to fund it. And that's not the only innovation initiative that we're funding. I mean, we've partnered with Wits University in terms of the Hack Jozi initiative. And Hack Jozi is a hackathon that we're running with the University of Johannesburg, where we take IT entrepreneurs and take them through a process where their innovations are adjudicated. And we're finding those innovations and ensuring that we incubate them to become enterprises. We've done the same with regards to green technologies with the University of Johannesburg through Resolution Circle, where we're doing a program around green technologies that we are able to incubate. So in many ways, one of the things that we're placing an emphasis on is the ability to tap into the knowledge, information, entrepreneurship, and capacity of the people of Johannesburg. So this is a city of entrepreneurs.
Executive Mayor, unfortunately or fortunately, you're using a bus, so I must let you go. It may be the last one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the time. That was question time for today. A big thank you to my guest and to you for watching the show. From me and the crew, have yourself a wonderful time. Goodbye.